Bole Baba Ki Jai, Jagdambe Mata Ki Jai, Haryakandashvari Mata Ki Jai, Vishveshvari Mata Ki Jai, Bole Baba Ki Jai. Welcome to today's third day of Fall Navratri. Here in Crestone it's a bit blustery and colder, but we're grateful to be able to do it outside still. You know, we're in the middle of October. And today is Mother Durga Day. And as we've talked about, this 9-day celebration of the Divine Mother is divided into 3 parts. The first 3 parts are Mother Durga. So this is day 3. We're honoring Mother Durga. And the next 3 days will be Mother Lakshmi. And the final 3 days, Mother Saraswati. The idea of bringing that Durga does away with any, as the warrior goddess, anything that doesn't serve us in our lives. And Lakshmi fills us with sattvic gunas, so that they're helpful. And finally, Saraswati, Rajasic, helps us put it all into action. And today the special aspect is, Chandra Ganta. So Mother who wears the crescent moon on her forehead, which symbolizes peacefulness and calmness. And the bell, Ganta, is what she uses to frighten the demons. So she's actually a very fierce aspect in some ways, but it's a great teaching for us that Baba encouraged us to do our karma yoga and to not let atrocities happen in this world. We had to step forward. And yet when you do that you do it with peacefulness in your heart, just knowing what step you need to do to say, save the environment or whatever step you're doing to make Mother Earth and the world. So today we're honoring that aspect of the Mother. So Bole Baba Ki Jai. Jai. Pretty good? So now you'll begin by offering, pouring some water in your right hand and 3 times around the Pavan Kund as I say the mantra. Om Apavitra Pavitrava Savavastam Gatopiva Yasmara Purari Kaksham Savibhyantara Suchi. Now 3 times around the people. Om Ganganapatye Namah. Om Ganganapatye Namah. Om Ganganapatye Namah. Now we'll do the Sankalp. Om Shri Babaji, Divine Mother, please be with, put it on the tray. Please be with us as we offer today's fire ceremony to you, as we do all the fire ceremonies here to say thank you. An appreciation, acknowledgement, and the mystery of how everything is you, and everything is given to you by us, by you, our nourishment, the love, the teachings, even the hardships that we're to learn from. And so we want to all pray together today at the Hedekanda Universal Ashram in Crestone, Colorado, United States of America, on this 3rd day of Navratri, which is Saturday, 9th of October 2021. And we also want to remember the people who have sponsored this fire, Regina and Lada and Jay Burma and different people who have asked for the prayers specifically today. Sumaran, many people call and write here for support and love at this time. And we know that people around the world are in need of love and support. So we want to pray and think of all of them. And particularly our beautiful Divine Mother, who, Mother Earth, is being trodden on too heavily and not being cared for and loved. So we want to remember Mother Earth and ask for her love, blessings. Bole Baba Ki Jai. Om Shri Sambhasadashivaya Satgurave Namah. Avahanam Samarpyami. Babaji, come from the Himalayas and please be with us today. Stay with us. Shri Mahadev. Om Shri Sambhasadashivaya Satgurave Namah. Atmanam Samarpyami. Take your seat. Om Shri Sambhasadashivaya Satgurave Namah. Nanam Samarpyami. Now you're going to do the Lingam Puja. You might have to scoochie up a little for it over the Lingam. Om Namah Shambhavaya Charmayo Bhavaya Charnamaha Sankaraya Om Shri Sambhasadashivaya Satgurave Panchamrit. Panchamrit Nanam Samarpyami. And use all of that. Sambhasadashivaya Satgurave Namah. Buddha Jalsanam Samarpyami. In for a little bit. Namah Shambhavaya. Namah Shambhavaya. Namah Shambhavaya. Om Shri Sambhasadashivaya Satgurave Namah. Sugandhim Samarpyami. Summon the fire. And summon Baba's Sadukas, Baba, Patricia. A little bit on his photograph. And then the 2 spoons.
And the coconut. You want to put some oil on the spoons of the coconut?
Then you got it. Sambhasadashivaya Satgurave Namah. Yagyo Pavitam Samarpyami. And dip it in the water a little. Om Agnaya Shvase Krite Namah Swaha. Om Vardanim Agnim Avayami Pujami. Om Chandanam Samarpyami. In the same order. Must have been Babaji calling. Kumkumam Samarpyami.
Some chanting on the spoon. Chanting on the spoon. Oh, you put it in there? How about the tree tree?
Shri Sambhasadashivaya Satgurave Namah. Aksatan Samarpyami. Satgurave Namah. Pushpam Malam Samarpyami. Pushpam Samarpyami. Now you have pushpams to put in all those other places. Trishu. you got lingam, not flower, lingam or the fire. Perfect. Shri Sambasadashivaya Sakirve Nama Dupam Samohyam. Shri Sambasadashivaya Sakirve Nama Naividyam Samohyam.
So offer the fruit first.
The banana and apple. To the fire. Om Kanaya Swaha. Maya Swaha. Akanaya Swaha. Sumaya Swaha. Bolo Shri Haryakandi Bhagwan Ki Jai. Jagambe Mata Ki Jai. Haryakandeshwari Mata Ki Jai. Vishweshwari Mata Ki Jai. Bole Baba Ki Jai. He gets to eat it. That's good. Then they don't have. Gananatva Ganat. So now you do the key and try to do it on all the corners. Wait till I say swaha. Gananatva Ganapati Gumhavamahe Priyanatva Priyapati Gumhavamahe Nidhinatva Nidhipati Gumhavamahe Vasanam Ahatmajani Garbadam Atmanchasi Garbadam Swaha.
Hold on, we want to make sure everybody knows what's going on here.
So everybody
You're using your right hand to make the offering, and with the Samagri, you're going to take a small pinch between your fingers like this. You want to leave out the index finger. In this tradition, the index finger is associated with the ego. The idea is to make the offering egoless. And again, underhand, very gently, right into the center of the fire. If anything falls on the ground, just leave it there. We'll take care of it later. And if you need to touch your feet or touch your mouth for any reason, you need to wash your hands. So there's buckets over there with water. Take the lota away from the Havakund area, wash your hands, and then return the lota to the bucket. Everybody okay? Any questions? Okay.
may we all be blessed in the whole world. Baba said that the fire brings the rain, which we might hit, which brings the grain that sustains our life, and that the smoke from the fire purifies not only us, but all the surrounding area, bringing peace and harmony to the whole cosmos. So thank you for participating with us today.
So what you want to do is be ready. So ready with some ghee in it, because then it's going to be.
Let's start. I'm going to just start. Om Gananatha Ganapati Gupavamehe Priyanatha Priyapati Gupavamehe Nidhinatha Nidhipati Gupavamehe Vasanam Ahamajati Garbadam Atmajasi Garbadam Swaha. Ganganapatiye Namah Swaha. Om Vakratundaya Om Vat Swaha. Om Gunguro Vyo Namah Swaha. Om Trayambakam Nijamahe Gangan Pushtivardhanam Udvarupameva Bandhanat Vijor Priya Mamrita Swaha. Trayambakam Nijamahe Gangan Pativedanam Udvarupameva Bandhanat Vijor Priya Mamrita Swaha. Satpurushaya Dhimahe Vasadevyaya Dhimahi Tanu Rudras Chorat Swaha. Om Hrim Shri Haryakandeshwaryaye Namah Swaha. Hrim Namo Bhagavate Mahamanindra Swaha. Namo Bhagavate Mahamanindra Hrim Haryakandi Namah Shivaya Swaha. Om Sri Sakudave Namah Swaha. Om Kailash Giri Vare Rame Nivasantam Kushanti Tatmunim Satatam Mande Satya Karunya Rupinam Swaha. Om Yasa Smarnamatena Suho Bhavati Sarata Satgurum Taman Bande Harikandavasinim Swaha. Om Yasa Kipati Krishna Danyo Bhavati Janava Tasya Parekam Pranamani Nirantaram Swaha. Kamalam Madhyam Yasa Kamalam Yasa Vashanam Nando Kisamalo Yasa Kamalam Namam Nam Swaha. Vistim Dayamayan Sita Yapachati Charataram Lokapata Nireto Ragavesha Divachita Swaha. Sakuru Sakunanda Daudyanam Sadashadam Satyam Param Chinanadam Samsmane Hisabara Swaha. Hariya Riva, Hariya Bhato, Hariya Dhyan Parayanam, Hariya Namam Ritam Diva, Hariya Dam Param Prajat Swaha. Radhati Chabalanam, Satyanam Survavam, Sada Shavani, Oti Tone Kamavalam, Banam Swaha. Mahama Chandaripena, Mohadanta Vinashika, Sava Bhuta Raposi, Mahendra Jivanam Swaha. Om Anandaripam, Shaki Vitam, Vidyam Param, Brahmasanu Bhutim, Karunya Purnam, Guru Murchi Rupam, Devim Namaha, Jagadish Param Swaha. Om Rakshanityam, Jagadavalambe, Tameva Satyam, Jagajiva Nimata, Sansara Jama, Jaroga Vidyam, Madhyam Bhajay, Harikanda Vasinim Swaha. Om Shrim 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 Swaha. Om Shrim 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 Swaha. Om Shrim 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 Swaha. Om Hrim 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 Swaha. Om 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 Shri Mahadev Parvati Sharanam Swaha. Om Shri Mahadev Parvati Sharanam Swaha. Om Shri Mahadev Parvati Sharanam Swaha. Om Bambata Apadu Danai Purukudvata Bam Om Namah Shivaya Swaha. Om Bambata Apadu Danai Purukudvata Bam Om Namah Shivaya Swaha. Om Bambata Apadu Danai Purukudvata Bam Om Namah Shivaya Swaha. Om Shrim Hrim Kliman Kamalavasane 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 Swaha. Okay, just don't cover up your face. Indra Vacha, is it blowing away? Is this blowing away?
Well, yeah. Is this okay?
No, no, it's fine, just so it's not blocking it.
It's fine.
Indra Vacha, Namaste, Maha Maya, Shaka Chakra Devakaste, Mahalakshmi, Namaste, Swaha. Namaste, Guruda Arude, Kola Asura Vayamkare, Sada Papa Hare Devi, Mahalakshmi, Namaste, Swaha. Sarvagan Sarvavadade, Sarvadusta Vayamkare, Sarvaduta Hare Devi, Mahalakshmi, Namaste, Swaha. Siddhi Bhukti Prade Devi, Bhukti Mukti Pradayana, Matva Putra Sada Devi, Mahalakshmi, Namaste, Swaha. Anta Pita Devi, Ahitanti Mahendra, Yogi Devi, Samute, Mahalakshmi, Namaste, Swaha. swaha. Manandrupaye namah swaha. Parambaye namah swaha. Vishsiddhidaye namah swaha. Durgaye namah swaha. Ambikaye namah swaha. Jagadambikaye namah swaha. Parmeshwaniyaye namah swaha. Karlaye namah swaha. Sivdaye namah swaha. Yanmurtyaye namah swaha. Ishvaryaye namah swaha. Yogmaye namah swaha. Shriyaye namah swaha. Sadhaye namah swaha. Mahendriyaye namah swaha. Shaktiyaye namah swaha. Rodraye namah swaha. Matraye namah swaha. Savitriyaye namah swaha. Vedmatraye namah swaha. Kaliyaye namah swaha. Siddhidatriyaye namah swaha. Varunaye namah swaha. Sarvamangaladatyaye namah swaha. Ishtatriyaye namah swaha. Nityaye namah swaha. Taraye namah swaha. Chandikaye namah swaha. Jagadavalambaye namah swaha. Vardaye namah swaha. Vishveshwaryaye namah swaha. Jananaye namah swaha. Vardaye namah swaha. Rajeshwaryaye namah swaha. Shankaryaye namah swaha. Shivaye namah swaha. Jayankaryaye namah swaha. Somanandrupaye namah swaha. Shri Shakti Diktaye namah swaha. Vidyaye namah swaha. Haraye namah swaha. Karunaye namah swaha. Karuna Purnaye namah swaha. Guru Murtirupaye namah swaha. Divyaye namah swaha. Siddheshwaryaye namah swaha. Parvatyaye namah swaha. Divyaye namah swaha. Ankaryaye namah swaha. Parmeshwaryaye namah swaha. Purnaye namah swaha. Vidyaye namah swaha. Parmaye namah swaha. Mahamayaye namah swaha. Shivdaye namah swaha. Sarvadatraye namah swaha. Katyaniyaye namah swaha. Bhavtarinyaye namah swaha. Hariyakanivihariyaye namah swaha. Tarinyaye namah swaha. Mavidyaye namah swaha. Padmaye namah swaha. Maheshwaryaye namah swaha. Sharanaye namah swaha. Shivrityaye namah swaha. Shivriyaye namah swaha. Mavidyaye namah swaha. Parmeshwaryaye namah swaha. Mahinyaye namah swaha. Annapurnaye namah swaha. Sarvadatraye namah swaha. Shandaryaye namah swaha. Chandikaye namah swaha. Saraswiniyaye namah swaha. Ranjandikaye namah swaha. Ramaye namah swaha. Vedmurti Mayaye namah swaha. Sarasvatyaye namah swaha. Yugdarinyaye namah swaha. Vajrakalyaye namah swaha. Karyaye Namah Swaha. Kalyaniyaye Namah Swaha. Mangaladayiniyaye Namah Swaha. Shristimayaye Namah Swaha. Anantaye Namah Swaha. Gyanaye Namah Swaha. Jagadatriyaye Namah Swaha. Mukti Pradaye Namah Swaha. Hring Shri Mahamayaye Namah Swaha. Param Vidyaye Namah Swaha. Bhuvaneshwaryaye Namah Swaha. Siddhi Devyaye Namah Swaha. Bhavaniyaye Namah Swaha. Radhaye Namah Swaha. Janantyaye Namah Swaha. Amritaye Namah Swaha. Krishnaye Namah Swaha. Chandarupinyaye Namah Swaha. Ekamayaye Namah Swaha. Om Yoginiyaye Namah Swaha. Om Indraniyaye Namah Swaha. Om Kapaliniyaye Namah Swaha. Om Bhairavayaye Namah Swaha. Om Kundaliniyaye Namah Swaha. Om Pankaliyaye Namah Swaha. Om Nasiniyaye Namah Swaha. Om Shring Shring Haryakandashvaryaye Namah Swaha. Om Ring Shring Haryakandashvaryaye Namah Swaha. Om Ring Shring Haryakandashvaryaye Namah Swaha. Om Shri Ram Ramaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Ram Ramaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Ram Ramaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Krishnaye Govindaye Gopijana Balabaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Krishnaye Govindaye Gopijana Balabaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Krishnaye Govindaye Gopijana Balabaya Namah Swaha. Om Shri Radhaye Namah Swaha. Om Shri Radhaye Namah Swaha. Om Shri Radhaye Namah Swaha. Om Hang Hanamante Namah Swaha. Om Hang Hanamante Namah Swaha. Om Hang Hanamante Namah Swaha. Om Dam Datraye Namah Swaha. Om Dam Datraye Namah Swaha. Om Dam Datraye Namah Swaha. Om Gom Gorkshnataya Namah Swaha. Om Gom Gorkshnataya Namah Swaha. Om Gom Gorkshnataya Namah Swaha. Om Bam Brahmane Namah Swaha. Om Bam Brahmane Namah Swaha. Om Bam Brahmane Namah Swaha. Om Vim Vishnave Namah Swaha. Om Vim Vishnave Namah Swaha. Om Vim Vishnave Namah Swaha. Om Sang Sadanaya Namah Swaha. Om Sang Sadanaya Namah Swaha. Om Sang Sadanaya Namah Swaha. Om Sum Suryaya Namah Swaha. Om Sum Suryaya Namah Swaha. Om Sum Suryaya Namah Swaha. Om Gom Goswami Gangaya Namah Swaha. Om Gom Goswami Gangaya Namah Swaha. Om Goswami Gangaya Namah Swaha. Varunaya Namah Swaha. Varunaya Namah Swaha. Varunaya Namah Swaha. Vaivaye Namah Swaha. Vaivaye Namah Swaha. Vaivaye Namah Swaha. Om Vishyaya Namah Swaha. Vishyaya Namah Swaha. Vishyaya Namah Swaha. Om Hring Shring Haryakandashvaryaye Namah Swaha. Om Hring Shring Samundaya Vichaya 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 And these are your last five, so make 5 parts. Well, afterwards you can, the last one you can distribute to everybody, okay? And these you do with 2 hands. If anything's falling on the ground, just leave. No, that, Priyanka?
Yes.
Let's,
One.
the first 4, let's all just do, and then when we stand up, some more. So take parts. Perfect, in both your hands. Om Shri Sadavatabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Kuldavatabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Ramdavatabhyo Namah Swaha. Om Shri Standavatabhyo Namah Swaha. So now you can share back with everybody and help one another use all the that you can left. Here, maybe you guys can help each other pour it into both your hands.
Hold both your hands.
Priyanka, you could now share with back there too. Also back there too. Take some and I'll put your hands there for you. You can come around a little bit. We need to see the coconut there.
Scoot over a little bit. No, the other way to get the camera there.
There we go.
Come and stand.
Oh yes, record. So this is a long mantra, and it covers everything, all the divine everywhere, even our
Try to give it
farm
a
animals
center.
and our tools. Okay. Om Ring Sange, Saparivare, Savahane, Saryurai, Nanabija Destructive, Shima Kaliye, Shima Lakshmi, Shima Sarasvati, Dasmaha Vidya Swarupine, Sharakadashvarya, Sharakadashvarya, Shamaha Usim Shima Yami Namah Swaha! Tulsi Hariyakani Bhagwan Jai! Vishwari Mata ki Jai! Vishwari Mata ki Jai! Bole Baba ki Jai! So now, Munsi, if you come down to this end with Kremenon to offer the halva to the, come down to this other end. Yeah. I won't get too tricky today, but you'll try to.
So what you're gonna do is offer, one piece of halwa, with the fire, when you parka. Om Parva. Om Parsaha. Om Vyansaha. Om Vedansaha. Om Svanisaha.
So now everyone will be welcome to do the archi lap. You take it in your right hand.
Well, it's going to be tough for this thing to stay lit. We have any more camphor?
Jonathan, can you go get the rest of the camphor? Actually, yeah, the idea would be actually to team up
Yeah, try to do it in.
and to really just maybe like one slow turn will probably be the one that might make it. Do this one short. Well, that's for you, I think, unless you've fallen on the ground. So, like I said, yeah. So, I'll go to the ground and your whole family.
Jai. 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 Jai.
Kandi, Om Hariya 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 Kandi. So everyone's welcome now to go back to the temple for Seth. If you see a bell, please take one. We'll make a parade back to the temple, following his padukas. I need one strong person with clean hands. Yes, you have clean hands because you're fasting. And come over this side. And the padukas will go first, and then you can follow the photograph. Okay. We need some time. Bole Baba ki.
Jai.
So if people want to sit over here, we'll do a few buttons. And you put your bells over there. And we'll get this set up. It'll just take a few minutes. We'll let you see Muniraji today, and Babaji. As we get set up here, you can see some of the other deities in the temple. Who's ever the last one in can close the doors. If you have a particular song you'd like to sing, select the opening verse.
This is Sastraji. Picture of Babaji. The picture depiction of Kali, goddess Kali. Picture of the Mortu we have here in the temple. Divine Mother. I think they call this a yatra, but I don't remember. Sri yatra. A picture of Babaji. This is from the cover of a book called I Am Harmony. About Babaji. Divine Mother's eyes. Babaji again. This is the same photograph that we use for the fire ceremony today. Sanskrit. Virgin Mary. And Muniraji. It was very, like Sastraji was very close to Babaji. I think Babaji called him the Rishi of Rishis, something like that. And this is Hanuman. Divine Mother.
gotten used to having this live streamed around the world now, so it's still learning. Did anybody have a request for a bhajan to sing that you see in that little booklet? Otherwise, I'll just play one to Kali. That's exactly where the song words are. It's Chamundaye Kalima Kalima. If anybody finds it, you can say what number it is as well. Chamundaye Kalima Kalima. Did anybody find what number it is?
Number 3.
Great. Chamundaya Mata Ki Jai, Kali Mata Ki Jai, Vishveshwari Mata Ki Jai. Does anyone have a request? Which is? Just what I was thinking. Perfect for today. So number 10. One more sip. Thirsty. Mati ki jai, Durga Mati ki jai, Uma Mati ki jai. Guess we're going to do our discourse now. So during the Navratri, we read the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, and our sastri used to sit and read it day and night. He'd read the whole thing, which is this thick, and then would give a short discourse for it. I need to unplug the splitter. Just take out the splitter. Yeah, thanks. And actually, during this COVID time, we decided to read the whole Devi Bhagavatam. And so I've been reading them every day online. And then we actually started a little study group studying about it. So it's been really beautiful. But to actually do a discourse today, I'm going to simply read from a little bit more of a condensed version that's a little bit more English friendly. But it's very beautiful. And this is more condensed. So I think I'm going to read this story. And this is about faith and devotion. Let me turn a little bit more this way. And it's a long series of stories where King Janamejaya is asking Veda Vyasa, who actually wrote this Purana, this Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, and earlier we read about the significance of and how important it is for us to read it. And so King Janamejaya asked the great Veda Vyasa, "Can you tell me the origins of the race of the sun on earth, Muni?" Veda Vyasa began, "Narada told me how Survavamsa began in the world. He sat with me once in my ashram, and I asked him, 'Muni, can you tell me how the house of the sun, the family of the seventh Manu, began?' Narada said to me, 'As everyone knows, Vishnu, Narayana, lay on the coils of the serpent Ananta upon the single and eternal sea, Ekarnava. A golden lotus thrust itself out of Vishnu's head, and Brahma was born within it. First, Brahma created 7 sons from his mind. Marachi was the first. And then there was Kasyapa. Kasyapa Prajapati had 13 wives, all daughters of Daksha. From Kasyapa came Deva, the different yakshas, punagas, the beasts and birds of the earth. So indeed, the creation was called Kasyapa. Among the devas, Surya the sun was the most famed. He is the most lustrous deva as well. He is also called Vivaswan or Vishwat. Surya Deva's son was called Manu. This Manu had 10 sons himself. Ikshvaku was the eldest of them. Of Manu's other sons, Nagaba had a son named Ambarisa, who was also a great king of the earth. He was very sage and just and truthful, and a man of immense power. Drishta's son was Darshakta. Though he was born a Kshatriya, he was hardly a warrior by nature and was always drawn rather towards learning and wisdom, that are the callings of a Brahmana. Indeed, he became a Brahmana during his life and had moksha. Saryati, who had 2 children whose names are legends in the world, Anartha, his son, and Sukanya, his lovely daughter. Saryati gave Sukanya to the blind rishi Chivana to be his wife. why by Sukanya's purity, the Ashvin twins, who are Surya Deva's son, soon gave Chivana back his sight. I asked Narada, O king, how did Saryata give his daughter to a blind, elderly man? She was a beautiful princess and whole in every part. The Muni smiled and said, King Saryati, who was like a god among the earth, had 4,000 wives, but from them all he had just one daughter, Sukanya. The daughter and all his wives doted on this princess, and she was like a piece of the moon fallen onto the world. Not far from Saryata's capital was a lake as delectable as that of Mantsarava. A ghat of steps led down to the place of the water, on which swans and all kinds of water birds swam, fished, and played. 5 different kinds of beautiful lotuses grew in profusion on the lake, and their scent just emanated everywhere. Many wonderful trees grew around the lake in an airy, fragrant forest, and vines entwined themselves like lovers around those trees, and all the vana was swathed in the scent of heaven from the flowers blooming on those creepers. Peacocks lived in those woods, dancing to the rhythms of the seasons, their fans like scintillant miracles in the world. From the branches above, beautiful birds lit up the air with snatches of song, so enthralling that all the jungle creatures paused to rapture to hear them. In the heart of that forest was a secret grove, a tapovana, where Chivana Maharishi lived in Dhyan. The Muni had taken a vow of moon, and so he sat with his breath perfectly controlled. He neither ate nor drank anymore. He meditated upon the ultimate truth, the Param Brahman. So immaculate was the Muni's tapasya, a great anthill grew up around him, and he sat unmoving within it. A malika creeper wound itself around that anthill, and he sat unmoving within it. But still, Bhrigu's son sat on, unmoving, lost within himself in his timeless Atman. One day the king Saryata came to that lake with some of his wives and with his daughter Sukanya and her Sakis. The king and his women waded into the water to bathe, and Sukanya and her friends began to explore the woods, plucking flowers to make garlands for their hair. Sukanya's anklets chimed delicately in the spring air as she ran here and there, finding jasmine bushes, until suddenly she came to the anthill within which Charvana Muni sat absorbed. The princess went near and saw 2 holes in that anthole covered over with jasmine. They shone strangely as if 2 fireflies were trapped inside. Intrigued, Sukanya picked up a sharp branch with thorns and was about to poke those holes when a voice spoke from them. I'm a rishi at Dhyan. You have such big eyes. How is it you can't see me? Go away, young woman. Leave me in peace. But all the playful princess saw was an anthole before her with 2 shining holes, and she poked them smartly with the thorn branch. Without knowing what she did, Sukanya put out Maharishi Chivana's eyes. His roars of agony rang through the forest, and Sukanya fled through the trees. Then the strangest thing happened. All the king's men and beasts who were relieving themselves in the wood found that suddenly their bowels and bladders were frozen within them. The king could not ease himself, neither his queens nor anyone in his party. Saryati was beside himself. He roared, "Who has cast a spell? Let the man be found and punished." One of his trusted counselors said, "The Maharishi Chivana sits in Dhyan in these woods. I fear someone from our party has provoked his wrath, and this is his curse." The king's women and friends said the same thing. Then Sukanya said, "Father, I saw a big anthill in the forest. There were 2 holes in it through which I could see 2 shining fireflies. I poked them with a sharp stick, and I heard a ghostly voice cry, Ah, I'm killed. I saw the end of the stick was red and wet. I threw it down and ran from there in terror. Saryata realized his daughter must have unwittingly disturbed the rishi Chavana. He had no idea what she had actually done. He hurried to the anthill from which the anguished groans and cries came. The king broke the hardened heel and saw Chavana inside, holding his eyes that bled through his palms. Saryata quickly had the Muni's face bound and medicinal herbs to ease his pain. Then he stood before Chavana with his folded hands and said, Holy One, my daughter did not realize what she did. I beg you, Lord, forgive her. Don't curse my child. Chavana knew from his voice how genuinely distressed the king was. He said gently, Kshatra, I am not angry with your child. Indeed, I have not cursed her at all. But tell me, Kshatra, how will I live? I am old, infirm by my long tapasya, and now your daughter has blinded me. I don't know how I shall survive anymore. Saryati said, I have a host of servants who will look after you, my lord. But the Muni replied, I doubt they will care for me for long. Servants are not relations, that they love a helpless man. No, that's insufficient atonement for my injury. If you really truly want to atone, let your daughter, who did this dreadful thing, stay with me and look after my needs, he smiled. If she does, I think the strange affliction that has seized yourself and your men will vanish gently. Otherwise, Saryati was shocked. He thought to himself, my child is young and beautiful, and this Muni is old and ugly. And now he is blind as well. How will Sukanya be happy with this man? How will he satisfy her? Why, young women can hardly remain faithful to their husbands even when they are young and handsome. The king was distraught, and he asked Chavana for some time to consider his proposals, for it had taken him by surprise. Saryati gathered his advisors around him and asked them in despair, what shall we do now? If I do not give my child to the Muni, we shall all die of our strange sickness. Those wise men said, but how can you even think of your delightful daughter with this old man? But suddenly a clear, bright voice spoke to the anguished king. Father, are you worried for my sake, that I will not be happy? Don't be anxious, my lord. Nothing will make me happier than to be given the chance to serve the rishi I have blinded so wantonly. Saryati clasped her to him and cried, but have you seen the rishi, my child? He is old, feeble, and I have heard he is very irritable as well. Then he lives here in the midst of the jungle. You have grown up in a palace. How will you bear this life in the wilderness with no servants to attend you, but a servant yourself? Who are these old man's relatives and friends who will... What wealth does he have that he can look after you, my child? Why, to my mind, the choice is clear. It is better that my men and I die here than for me to give you to this rishi to be his bride. She began to speak, but he held up his hand and cried, say no more. I will not give you to the old man. But his daughter said, at least hear me out, father. I will not be unhappy in the forest. I adore the jungle. Its sights and sounds, its scents, its untamed creatures, its lakes. I have known all the worldly pleasures any soul needs for a lifetime. Now the forest attracts me more than the palace. She lowered her head. And then the Muni has such a sacred aura. I am drawn powerfully to him, father. I will be perfectly happy serving him and learning wisdom at his feet. You need have no fear. I am not tormented by desire, as many young women are. I will be a chaste wife and bring no sin upon myself or any shame to you. The king's ministers stood dumbfounded to listen to the princess. She spoke quietly and with dignity, and it was obvious she meant what she said. Satya hesitated only for another moment, then he took his child's hand and led her to the Muni. Bowing to the Muni, the king placed his daughter's hand in the sage's gnarled one. He said, Holy One, I give this child of mine to you for your service. The king's priests chanted the Vedas, and the marriage was sanctified. At once the strange constriction that gripped the bowels of the king's Saryati and his army left them, and they evacuated in huge relief. His heart heavy, Saryati turned to go, but Sukanya called him back. She took off her golden ornaments, gave them to him, and said, God has blessed me with skin smooth as honey. I have no need for these, nor for the costly silks I am wearing. I mean to wear tree bark and animal hide like the wife of a rishi, and to serve my husband so devotedly that your name, Father, will be legend in the three worlds. See how long this takes. You want to hear the end? Yes. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Because now they're married, but it gets better. Deeply moved, her father had some deerskin and tree bark fetched and gave it to her. But when he saw her clad in those rough garments, tears sprang in his eyes. All his queens wept to see the princess transformed suddenly into a rishi's bride. Saryati could not bear it at all and turned back quickly to his city. The story goes on. Sukanya devoted herself to her husband and worshipped the sacred fire without fail. It was she, the princess, who now fetched his food, roots and fruits she foraged from the jungle. It was she who made a fire, drew water from the river, and heated it for the blind Muni's bath. Wise Sukanya bathed her old husband herself, lovingly put his deerskin on for him, and sat him on his asan. Then she would set kusa grass and his kamandalu before him and say, everything is ready for your morning worship. When he had finished his daily worship, she would take his hand and lead him to another seat where she would feed him with her own hands, and always cheerfully laughing and chatting with him, for her heart was full of joy. When he finished, she would wash his hands, help him rinse his mouth, and eat whatever was left over and wash the earthen dishes. Only then did she bathe herself and come and sit next to him. And she would say, Lord, tell me, what can I do for you now? At night she would massage his feet and legs as he slept, and she would curl up at his feet and fall asleep, exhausted with the day's chores, and as happy as she could be. That lovely princess, raised in a palace with 100 maids attending on her every whim, served the old and blind Muni as few women had ever served their husbands. One day, Surya Devi's sons, the Ashvin twins, arrived in that forest. Sukanya was returning to the ashram through the jungle with the water she had drawn from the river where she had also bathed. The brilliant Ashvins saw her and stood transfixed by her beauty. Their oars lit up the trees. One of them said, Lovely one, who are you? Whose daughter? Who is your husband? Do you have one? Why, you are so beautiful as Lakshmi herself. The other Ashvin was not far behind, and in his ecstasy he said, your feet are as fragile as lotus petals. How is it that you go barefoot in this forest? You are certainly a princess. Where are your servants? Why are you carrying this water yourself? His twin took up again, the deers and birds of this vana are so fortunate that they can see you whenever they like. The earth here is more blessed than Devaloka, that your feet walk upon us. Tell us if you are a princess or an apsara. Shaili Sukhavana said to the two devas, I am King Saryati's daughter and the wife of Maharishi Charvana, who has his ashram in this forest. Won't you come to my husband's hermitage and bless it? But the Ashvin twins cried, a jewel like you married to this old man? Why are you like a streak of lightning? We have never seen anyone like you in Devaloka. You should wear clothes of the heavens around you. You should adorn your body with beautiful jewels and your beauty, and shine more brightly with your beauty. Ah, how exquisite you are, said the twins. The folly of follies. Fate has given you a blind husband and an old one. God hasn't been kind to you. Why? He hasn't been just. We say you should find yourself another husband, and quickly, before the brief season of your youth passes. We offer ourselves. Choose one of us, or choose both. Come away with us to Devaloka, and we will spend sweet hours together in Nandana. This is not the age for a woman like you to be a servant to an old man. This is the time for love. Come away with us. Forget your Muni. Sukanya trembled when she heard their flagrant advances, But she controlled herself and said levelly, "You are Surya Deva's sons, and they say that there is nothing you do not know in the three worlds. But then you should know that I am a chaste woman. You are great Kashyapa Muni's grandsons. How can you speak to me like this? I am a wife, a rishi, besides, and you are asking me to come away with you for pleasure's sake like some wanton woman. I beg you, Davis, leave me in peace and go away from here, otherwise I will curse you." Now her eyes glittered dangerously, and they knew that she was indeed chaste. Those splendid gods smiled at her and said, "Chastity like yours is hardly mortal. Why are the physicians of heaven? There is nothing we cannot do with our powers." Knowing his twins' minds as if his own, his brother said, smiling, "We have a boon for you, Sukanya. We will make your old husband as radiant and handsome as ourselves. Why, we will restore his sight to him, and he will be as youthful as we are." She stood breathless. The other Ashvin said, "But there is a condition. When we have transformed Chavana, he will look exactly like us, so you won't be able to tell him and us apart. Then you must choose one of us, 3, for your husband." She gasped at the thought and ran back to the Vana to her Muni, who sat lost in dhyan. She burst into the contemplation and cried, my lord, the Ashvin twins are here in the jungle. Surya's son said to me they would make you as young and handsome as themselves, and they would restore your sight to you. But there's a condition. You would look exactly like them, so I would not be able to tell the difference between themselves and you. And then I must choose one of them to be my husband. My lord, I don't know what I should do. The Muni cried, what is there to think about? Bring the Ashvins here at once and agree to their conditions. Like the winds, Sukanya ran into the forest. Devas, I will do as you ask. Come with me and transform my husband. The Ashvins came to their ashram. They said, let us go to the lake and bathe in it. Sukanya led her husband to the water by his hand. On the banks, the gods from Devaloka said, Muni, enter the lake and immerse yourself. Sukanya helped the rishi into the water. As he waded cautiously in, the Ashvins also went with him. On the other side of the rishi, they took his hands and led him into the deep enough water so all 3 of them could immerse themselves entirely. So they did. As Sukanya watched them, they submerged for a long moment, and then they emerged again. The ancient Muni Chavanya had vanished, and instead 3 shining Ashvins walked out of the lake. All 3 were young, wore the same ornaments, and each one was exactly like the others. They said to her all together, now choose one of us whom you love best to be your husband. And their voices were all exactly alike as well. For her life, what she felt was at stake if she chose a deva who was not her husband. Sukanya could not tell from the other. She thought that perhaps the 3rd figure of light was yet another deva. Trembling, she began to meditate on the highest Prakriti, the Divine Mother, Devi Bhagavati. Mother of the world, Sukanya prayed desperately, I offer myself to your feet. Preserve my chastity. Show me which of these is my husband. Moved by the young woman's sincerity, the Devi blessed her with the subtle sattva jnana. Again, Sukanya looked at the 3 devas before her, and they were identical, but now her mind clearly knew which one was her husband. She went up to him and took his hand, saying, this is my Lord Chavanya, and I choose him for my husband. The Ashvins were enchanted. They cried, there is no one as chaste as you are, Sukanya. We bless you. But as they prepared to leave the forest, Maharishi Chavanya said, Devas, I thank you 1,000 times. I thank you. You have blessed me with youth and beauty, and most of all with my sight, again, that I can now see and please my wife of mine. I have also some punya shakti. Devas, let me grant you a boon, anything your heart's desire. For just a moment, the Ashvins were thoughtful. Then they said, we have everything we want with our father's blessings. Yet at Brahma's great yagya on the golden mountain, Indra said that because we are physicians, we could not drink the soma rasa. It is one thing we thirst for, O Muni, for we have heard that no drink to match the ambrosial soma. If you can help us to drink that soma rasa, Without a moment's hesitation, Shivana said, Ashvins, King Saryata will perform a yaga, and there you shall drink the somarasa in the very presence of Lord Indra. But how could Shivanya, who was only a rishi, go against the word of mighty Indra, the king of the Devas? Janamajaya asked. One day, Narada said to me, one day after some months of their being married to the Muni, Sukanya's father came across his wife, the queen, sobbing her heart out. And he took her hand and cried, my love, what ails you? Why do you cry like this? She says, every time I think of our child, I feel as if my heart will break. How can any mother endure this? My princess, who is raised in the midst of every luxury, now spends her days tending to an old man. She lives on roots and leaves like a slave in the forest. She must be wan and wasted with tapasya, and at this age for her to be doing penance. Then her husband is blind. I cannot bear this. I beg you, my lord, go to the child and make sure she is well. Ask her if there's anything we can do to alleviate her misery. Saryati arrived in the forest ashram. As he walked toward the Muni's hut, he paused in the trees, for what he saw there shocked him. He saw Sukanya sharing an intimate moment with a splendid young man whose body shone like a god's. Indeed, he saw them kiss tenderly. Then the young man went back into the ashram, and Sukanya began sweeping the yard. Her father, hidden in the trees, saw how radiant his child had looked, but nowhere did he see the old Muni. The king's chest heaved with outrage. He thought his princess had killed her old husband and was now living in dreadful sin with a brilliant young man. But there was no crime as heinous as killing a rishi. Saryata had tears in his eyes as he thought was the expiation for his own sins of the past, that he must live to see his daughter fallen so low. But then again, he wondered that she seemed so light, as if the Spirit's purest light still burnt brightly in her heart. No woman has committed a sin such as this could be so carefree. Suddenly, as the king stood there distraught, his daughter saw him through the trees. With a cry, she ran and flung her arms. Father, how wonderful to see you. Then she paused. She saw how pale and strained he was. What is the matter, father? Why are you crying? Saryati turned his face away from his daughter and said grimly, Sinful child, who is that young man I saw you with? Aren't you at least ashamed of yourself, the sin you live in? She began to laugh as sweetly as ever. Then in a moment she was solemn, and with her huge eyes full of tears, Sukanya said, Father, how can you doubt me like this? But he raged, Don't lie to me. I saw you kissing that young man. Sukanya cried, The young man is my lord, Chivanya Muni. The Ashvin twins gave him a lustrous body and his youth. They restored his sight to him, and if you still doubt me, come and ask him yourself. Saryati came to the young man and said, Son of Bhrigu, where has your age vanished? But doubt seized him again, and he cried, How can you be Chivanya? Tell me, young man, who are you, and where is the Muni? Then Chivanya said in his own voice, Kashata, the Ashvin twins blessed me, and in return, I have sworn that I will help them drink soma rasa at a yagya that you will perform. Saryata peered closely at the youth's eyes and saw that he was indeed Chivanya Muni transformed. The king bowed to the sage and said, I swear I will perform that yagya. So Saryata undertook the sacrifice. He spared no expense and invited Vashishta and Narada, all the holiest rishis on earth. When the yagya was underway, Indra came with his devas to drink the somarasa. Then the Ashvin twins arrived as well in the yagyashala. Shivana proffered the golden chalice that contained the somarasa to them. But Indra cried, Stop, Muni. They may not drink the somarasa. Shivana said, Lord, these are Suryadeva's sons. They are born from his wife. What is their fault that they should not drink the somarasa? I have sworn they will drink the soma. Indeed, this Agnistoma yagya is so that the Ashvin may drink the rasa. Look what they have done for me. I cannot break my word to them. Indra replied, These twins have been made the physicians of the devas. They serve the rest of us, and we look down on them. They shall not drink the soma." Maharishi Chavana's eyes blazed at the Deva king. He said softly, "You committed adultery. Why, you killed Vritrasura with treachery. Who are you then to sit in judgment over the Ashvin twins? They shall drink the soma at this sacrifice." A hush fell on the Yagyashala, but it seemed everyone there, even the other devas, saw the justice of what Chavana Muni said. They all knew that his ancient enmity with Suryadeva was the true reason for Indra's barring the Ashvins from drinking the Somarasa. But now the illustrious Bhargava brought the golden chalice of Soma to the Ashvins. Indra hissed, "Stop, Chavana, or I will have your head." The Muni ignored him and held the chalice of Soma up to the Ashvins. Indra roared, "Rishi, beware! Take that cup back, or I swear I will sever your head with my vajra." But Chavana paid him no mind. He gave the chalice into the Ashvin's hands. In a flash, Indra cast his vajra like a jagged lightning at the Rishi. But Chavana merely raised his palm, and that ultimate weapon was arrested in the air. It hung still as if petrified. His eyes crimson with rage, Chavana threw some potent oblation into the yagya fire. A huge monster sprang from it. Her body and hair with scarlet flames and her eyes with a nuclear fire. She stood blazing there for a moment, then her body seemed to cleave itself into two, and from her issued an immense asura. He was awesome and dreadful, and he was called Mada, the mad one. His body was like a mountain. His face was like a planet with fangs 10 yojanas long. He yawned as wide as the sky. Then, growling like the thunder of the apocalypse, he rushed at the Deva king. Indra flew from that yaga, swift as light, and the demon after him. Indra fled to Brihaspati and fell sobbing at his feet. "Ah, Guru, save me." With his inner eye, Brihaspati saw what had happened. Then he saw the demon Mada swarming up the sky to find Indra and devour him. The Deva's king's luster had faded in a moment. He stood shaking before the wise master and whimpered, "Guru, subdue the monster with a mantra." But Brihaspati replied, "No mantra can subdue this asura. He is born from the Parashakti, whom Chavana worships. There is only one person who can save you from the demon, Chavana Muni himself." In a wink, Indra flew down to the yaga again and prostrated himself before the Muni. "Forgive me, my lord. Call off your asura. Let the Ashvins drink the Soma Rasa from now. I swear they shall always drink the Soma. I beg you. Muni, please spare my life." By now, Mada arrived at the yagya. The Krita with whom he had sprung had vanished back into the flames of the yagya fire. Chavana raised his hand over his head and murmured an arcane mantra. Earth and sky shook at the incantation, and Madasura found his huge body scattered like dust. The Devas heaved a sigh of relief. Their lord Indra stopped trembling. Chavana set the Devas in their places of honor again and completed his sacrifice. With his own hands, he made both Indra and Ashvin drink the Soma nectar. Great auspiciousness spread across the earth after Chavana's yagya, and his ashram became renowned through the three worlds as the most blessed place. Manu's son, Saryati, famed also spread, and after the Agnistotam Yagya, he ruled his kingdom in peace, and no blemish marred his long and just reign. The earth was indeed like a part of heaven when Saryati ruled from the throne of the sun. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Visheshwari Mata ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai. That was a long one. Thank you, everybody, for being here today, and tomorrow we'll be here at 9 with the Devi Puja, and 11 for the fire ceremony, another story, and some chanting. So may the blessings and love from today, the stories, the prayers, and the ceremonies fill each one of our hearts so that we can spread it throughout the world. Bole Baba Ki Jai.